Super Tuesday is upon us. States will vote as a third of the delegates on the Republican and Democratic side are up for grabs. The elections are a crucial moment for President Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who are the overwhelming frontrunners for the Democratic and Republican presidential nominations, respectively. So how would the two fare against one another today in a hypothetical matchup, which probably won't be a hypothetical matchup? CBS News Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, is here now with a look at that and some of the most important issues to voters. Anthony, this past weekend, former President Trump won 3 caucuses. Nikki Haley won the D.C. primary. What is the state of the race going into Super Tuesday?
Hey there, Dick. It is Donald Trump with a lead over Joe Biden, national preference vote. In fact, in our survey so far of this hypothetical, as you said, soon to be probably not hypothetical matchup, this is Trump's largest lead to date. And let me show you one thing that I think is really behind that. And that is when we ask people how the economy is doing today, it's been improving, but it's still not good. But when you ask people, how do you remember the economy during the Trump years? You get 2/3 of people who say that they remember it as being good. And I think it's that comparison that's really helping the former president right now, because the economy is the top issue. And if people remember things better during those years, then that's going to be a key point. And it's a key advantage for him right now, Dick.
It's so strange because so many indicators say that the economy has been improving. But let's talk about, if we could, Trump has charges against him. He's got trials likely coming up, as well as the SCOTUS ballot ruling, which we heard from today. They're all playing in these elections right now. What does this all mean? Is it having an influence, President Trump, with all these so-called troubles that he has?
I think this is the central thing that's defining a lot of the vote, and I'll show you why. When you ask people, what do you think happened after 2020? You get just under half who believe the former president tried to stay in office and do so by what they'd consider illegal or unconstitutional means. Now, those folks are overwhelmingly voting for Joe Biden. So that's part of their calculus. But if you go back and you look at the people who think that the former president tried to stay in office, but by constitutional means, or didn't plan to stay at all, well, those folks, they're voting overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. So that's how that idea defines the split in the race. And I think you start to talk about both candidates saying who'll keep democracy safe, who's better for democracy, which many Americans feel is threatened. That difference really becomes central to the campaign, Dick.
Anthony, the issue of abortion, we talk about Dobbs and the impact it might have on the election. And certainly many people would say, hey, this is the issue that's going to give the Democrats an edge, particularly suburban voters, suburban female voters. They've always talked about that. But is it an issue that's really going to resonate in this election?
Well, yes, it is going to resonate, and let me show you how. First of all, you get a majority, 57%, who feel that looking back, that the overturn of Roe v. Wade was, in their view, bad for the country. The difference, though, is that right now it's just 1/3 of voters who say that Donald Trump is blamed or responsible for that. And that's an argument that the Biden campaign is trying to make. So I'm going to watch that difference to see if they can move that number, because it might give them an added boost or an added advantage. And then the other thing that's going to keep this top of mind, I believe, is this big number who feel that IVF should be legal from our most recent poll. And that's important because you know about the ruling out of Alabama. You know that there's been a scramble to talk about this among both campaigns. And that's something that I think is going to keep this front and center in the campaign, Dick.
Anthony, speaking front and center, the migrant crisis, it may very well be the defining question in this campaign. The question is, what can Joe Biden do right now? Because it seems like whatever he does is fodder for Donald Trump. What do you think?
Well, we know that an increasing number of Americans see what's happening at the border as a crisis, or at the very least a serious problem. So that's really on the radar. But then look at this difference, Dick. You ask people whose policies would increase or decrease the flow of migrants trying to cross. And right now, you've got Joe Biden with half of people believing that his policies are increase or would increase migrants, but you get this big number and this big difference between the two, this 72% who believe Trump's policies would decrease their number. So to the extent that that issue is important, you see that's a net advantage right now for Donald Trump, Dick. Well,
Anthony Salvanto, CBS News Director of Elections and Surveys, we thank you so much, and we wish you luck tomorrow. Maybe we'll be talking again. We're both going to have a lot of work to do tomorrow, but thanks again. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
And we'll be monitoring the results as they come in right here on CBS News New York. For the latest in our continuing coverage of Super Tuesday, visit our website at cbsnewyork.com.